Chris and I have been slow traveling around the world for the last 6 years, and we've noticed that people's expectations of what slow travel is like doesn't necessarily match the reality that we've experienced. If this is your first time visiting our channel, welcome. Chris and I spend about 6 months of the year traveling overseas, and then we spend the other half of the year in our home province of British Columbia. It is just next level up here. We come back to British Columbia every year, both for practical reasons, things like maintaining our Canadian healthcare coverage, and just for emotional reasons, like being close to our family and coming back to a familiar setting. Through our travels, we visited all 6 inhabited continents, and we have learned so much.
Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere.
So today I want to share with you what we've heard that people's expectations are of slow travel versus the realities that we've actually experienced. Before you start a slow travel lifestyle, you might have these expectations that your life will be a constant adventure. And there are definitely tons of adventures to be had. Chris and I have had some incredible times.
This is Abu Simbel. So excited.
But we've also had some downtime and adventures we thought were going to happen that never really turned out. Like on our last trip, we spent 4 months in East Africa, and about 3 of those weeks were in Tanzania. We went into Tanzania with plans to go on tons of safaris, maybe even climb Kilimanjaro. I thought it was going to be a constant adventure the whole 3 weeks we were there. But we got to Tanzania, we went on 2 safaris almost right away, and they were incredible. We saw so many animals.
See the lion?
But safaris are expensive, and because we were so satisfied with the 2 safaris we'd been on, we decided not to keep doing them. And then our plans to Kilimanjaro, we thought we were going to climb it, but just personal reasons, we changed our mind. And so we ended up with these 3 weeks in Tanzania with not really that much to do. We wanted to stay in northern Tanzania because we had a plane ticket out of there. It was non-refundable. But yeah, we were kind of in these small towns, living our daily life. We were going to cafes, we were going to the grocery store. We had met some locals that we were kind of hanging out with. But other than that, not that much was going on. And there wasn't that much to see in the towns we were in. It was, they were pretty small. So yeah, we just spent a lot of time on our laptops, kind of chilling out and maybe wishing we hadn't spent or planned to spend quite so long in Tanzania. So that constant adventure that we thought we were going to have, we didn't have it. I would still highly recommend going to Tanzania if you have the chance, but maybe plan it a little bit better than we did. One of our goals with slow travel is to be able to connect with locals in the communities that we're visiting. And we hear that a lot of people have these similar expectations.
Hello.
Love you.
But it's not necessarily as easy to do as it sounds. Originally, we had envisioned just going into communities and cities and finding friends right away, being able to go out for coffee, go out for lunch. The reality is it doesn't necessarily work that way. It takes time to meet people. But it also varies depending on where we're going. So, for example, when we were in Nairobi, a friend of a friend had hooked us up with somebody, and we met him the second day we were there, and he took us all around.
Okay, so how do I say welcome to Nairobi? Karibu Nairobi.
He showed us the school he worked at. He invited us to his home for brunch. He showed us around Nairobi. We got to see the informal settlement where he grew up. It was really cool to connect with him, and we're still chatting with him to this day. But in other places that we visited, it hasn't been the same at all. I won't say where, but I had gotten this gym membership, a monthly membership to a club, and I like to take classes. So I went to the studio, and there's this group of women there. They were kind of cliquey, and they were kind of looking at me, and I don't know, I kind of felt like they were laughing at me. I wasn't really sure why. But then, like a couple of days later, I went back to take another class, and I stood in a spot. I guess they didn't like where I was standing because they kind of ended up moving over into where I was and kind of laughing and almost kicking me out of the spot. It was really weird. But anyways, all that to say, I didn't feel super comfortable in that class. It took me all month just to even start saying hi to a few of the other people taking the class. And that group of women, they never warmed up to me. So Yeah, sometimes we have great experiences like when we were in Nairobi, and other times, not so much. When you're slow traveling, you spend a lot of time in each place, and so you might think that you get to see everything. But in our experience, that's not really true. I don't know what it is, but after spending a month or even longer in a city, sometimes I leave thinking, oh, I want to go back. I still didn't get to see this or this or this. I think what happens is you see all the tourist sites, but then you start to see the cafes and the restaurants and the little streets and the alleyways that you want to go down. And you get to go down some of those, but you don't necessarily get to go down everything. I've had cases on last days where I've been in city where I've discovered a whole new section of the city that we hadn't been to, and I think, "Oh, it's too bad that this is my last day here because I would have liked to come back 2 or 3 or 4 times." And then in other cases, it's been more extreme. Like when we went to Peru, we made this decision not to go see the Nazca lines because they were kind of expensive and it didn't quite fit in with some of the other things we wanted to do. So we decided not to go. But to this day, I really regret not going to see the Nazca lines. So even as a slow traveler, spending lots of time in different countries and in different cities, you don't always necessarily get to see everything you want to see. As a slow traveler, you might have this idea that you're going to be eating amazing food every day. And we find this to be kind of location dependent. So if we're in a city that's known for great food, I mean, oh my gosh, it is just delicious. We've been to Michelin starred restaurants for a fraction of the price we would pay here in Canada and had amazing experiences and eaten delicious food.
It's just so good.
We've also branched out quite a bit in terms of our comfort level. Like, for example, when we were in northern Tanzania earlier this year, the food safety and the food, yeah, essentially the food safety isn't necessarily quite to the standards you might expect. And so you kind of have to get used to maybe eating at places that you might not have normally eaten at. We discovered, though, this amazing place right on the corner around from where we were staying, and it was being run by this young guy. And, not really any flooring, just kind of mud floor, a little hut that he had set up on the corner of the street. And he was chopping potatoes, just kind of sitting on a corner bench, frying up chicken. But it was so good. But other places we've been, uh, food might not be so good. We've been to a couple of places where the food flavoring isn't really there. The food is cooked, it's kind of flat. One place we visited, we found the food bland almost everywhere we went. And we ended up running into this woman, and we started talking to her about what the food was like. And she goes, "Oh yeah, I don't find it very good either." She lived in that city for maybe a few years. She goes, "This is what I do." And she pulled out this pill box, but instead of pills, it was filled with all these spices. And so whenever she's at a restaurant, she gets a bowl of whatever delivered in front of her. She just shakes on her own spices to give it flavor. All that to say that slow travel is really amazing, and we've had some incredible experiences over the last 6 years. But we've also had some challenges. You need to go into it knowing that you're not always going to have perfect days. You need to take things in stride. It is just like everyday life. Some days are really great, some days not so much. Some days are stressful, some days are lonely. Other days are absolutely fantastic. And that's our video for today. We're going to be spending the next few months traveling around British Columbia in our Honda Pilot micro camper, and we can't wait to show you all of the places that we're going. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel.